Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back in this video today, and today we're going to be talking about who the Rockets should sign with their last roster spot going into training camp. Training camp for the Houston Rockets starts on Tuesday, October 3rd, which is almost, I think, is almost a week away from training camp starting. Some teams actually start training camp early next week. I think some teams start on the 26th or the 28th, something like that. And those are the teams that are playing in the out-of-country games, the Dallas Mavericks and the Minnesota Timberwolves that are playing the Abu Dhabi games, and then the Raptors and the Kings that are playing in the Canada games. So those are the only four teams that start training camp early. The rest of the NBA, I believe, starts October 3rd is when the rest of those teams start in training camp. So the Rockets start October 3rd. They have one roster spot open. They did have two, but recently they just made it official, re-signing Boban Marjanovic to a 1-year, $2 million contract. So now they have one more roster spot open going into training camp, and we're going to be talking about who they should sign. I have three ideas I have on players I think could be good for the Rockets to bring in going into training camp. They're all guards, actually, because the Rockets kind of need help at guard right now. Kevin Porter Jr.'s absence, I think, is kind of, look at the guards off the bench. I think his absence it's not hurting this team, but just look at the guard talent off the bench. After Amen Thompson, I mean, the next guard, the best next guard after Amen Thompson is probably Aaron Holiday. Like Aaron Holiday, I think he's a solid player, but I'm just saying, if you're going to sign a solid player on a standard contract for your last roster spot, I believe it has to be a guard, whether that's a shooting guard or that's more of a point guard that can play the two, or it's a point guard and then maybe Amen Thompson starts playing a little bit at the two, and maybe that whoever you sign splits reps at the point guard with Amen Thompson. Who knows? But I do have three guys that I have an idea about potentially signing for the Houston Rockets. I'm going to go over the three guys I think could be good fits for the Houston Rockets, bringing him in free agency for that last roster spot going into training camp. Here are the three players. At 1, Cameron Payne, who just got released recently waived by the San Antonio Spurs. Just cleared waivers. He's an unrestricted free agent. Great season with the Suns last year. Averaged 11 points per game. I think he averaged 5 assists per game as well. Good three-point shooter. Really good three-point shooter. He's a point guard and, could play a little bit at that shooting guard, but I don't think it makes sense for him. He's played point guard most of his career, but if you want, you could move Amen Thompson to the 2. It's not like he can play the 1 through the 3, so it's not. I think the Rockets want to play him at that 1, but if they can get a guy like Cam Payne in for that last roster spot, I don't think they would mind moving Amen Thompson to the backup 2. But here's another guy where I would like this pickup for the Rockets. He averaged 7 points per game last season playing for the Toronto Raptors and the Washington Wizards. But I would love adding this player in because adding him in, he's at that shooting guard position where Kevin Porter Jr. would have been at if he didn't get into his legal issues. Amen Thompson doesn't have to do any adjusting. He can stay at the backup 1. And this player is Will Barton from the Toronto Raptors, who played for both the Raptors and the Wizards last year, averaged 7 points per game, is a solid defender, a good three-point shooter, and I think he'd be a good addition for the Houston Rockets. Another former Washington Wizard who played for the Los Angeles Lakers and the Washington Wizards last season was a part of the Rui Hachimura trade in February, which sent or that might have been late January, if not early February. But Hachimura got traded to the Lakers, and Kendrick Nunn and 3 second-round picks, I believe, got traded to the Washington Wizards. Kendrick Nunn, another good guard who, a good three-point shooter, averaged 7 points per game, is more of a point guard, but can play that shooting guard, can stretch to the shooting guard position, though. So, honestly, if you're going to pick up a guard for your last roster spot, I would probably bet anything it's going to be one of Will Barton or Kendrick Nunn. I think those are the two best fits for the Houston Rockets. I don't know if Cam Payne fits with the Rockets. I think he would be a great addition off the bench. He's a great player. He's a good point guard. He's a good three-point shooter. He's a good scorer. He's a good facilitator. I just don't know if he fits with this team. But Kendrick Nunn and Will Barton, I both believe either one of those guys would fit to this Rockets team off the bench, and I wouldn't mind the Rockets signing either one of those guys. I think it'd be a good pickup for the Houston Rockets. Use them your thoughts. Who do you think the Rockets should sign with their last roster spot going into training camp? They can sign one more player to a standard contract, and I would think it'd be one of these three guys, either Cameron Payne, Will Barton, or Kendrick Nunn. And if it's not one of these three guys, I do believe it will be a guard. But you guys let me know your thoughts. That's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace out. Go Rockets.